Greetings, viewers from across the globe. You're welcome to the show Viewpoint.
This is Video Media, and I'm Odiawa AI. We've been monitoring the happenings taking place in the off-cycle elections in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa. And funnily enough, it's been, characterized with all sorts of, should I say, violence or accusations, and also vote buying in the process. Now, why can't a free and fair election be conducted? Because even the electoral body or officials of the electoral body, INEC, are not even helping the situation. You come on board, and even before the elections will commence, you are already dictating in a particular polling unit who actually is the winner, thereby filling in the results on your own. It's not done. In another turn of events, I have some videos to that effect which will be played subsequently. Now, in another turn of events, we have INEC officials who arrive at polling units as at 9 o'clock, 9:30, but are still leaving. Now, as we speak now, voting has been concluded, or has ended rather, at 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. Now, this is 4 o'clock as we speak. I want to believe that collation of results should commence, and the counting should also commence in the process, whereby the winner of these three states will be announced. Now, another question is, with all these anomalies taking place, I suspect some parties would not really be satisfied, and because they have not been pleased satisfactorily, it will definitely end up in the court. And once again, where the jury announce who the winner is in the elections, that's going to be another problem. Now, this cycle of events, how and why can't it be addressed once and for all? And even those who are upturning these events, because accusations came up whereby not just vote buying, large sums of money and ammunitions, particularly from a local council chairman who was actually caught with these thugs. Now, it's quite appalling. Now, going over to the INEC official who was caught with written results for or before accreditation, pre-recorded election result sheets during the APC, declaring the APC candidate Ododo winner of the Kogi elections. Let's have that video up so you at least you can see at least this is a visual evidence of what actually took place.
Now flip it open, let's see, and let's see the carbon copies. Let you see, open it, see. You can see that there's the result is, look at who wrote those ink on it. How did it get there? Why is INEC compromised? This is an election. We've not started an election. It's supposed to be blank. And see, this election cannot hold. We cannot accept it. You people are the ones that are coming to rob us again. This suffering, are you people not feeling it? No, we can't take it. It's not possible. We won't take this. Please. This is unacceptable. Never sign anything on the room. Can never sign. This is criminality now at the highest level.
Hello.
Are you abroad?
What I want
to where would you?
By God's grace, no matter how may be that there is no solution, you can call our SPO. Now.
Please call him.
Call him.
Call him, please.
Not mattering of argument.
We don't have issue with you. You understand? Call the SPO. You are agents, you understand? But we have to start with you people because you're the ones on the field. Look at results. Imagine. This is election that accreditation has not even started. See results. Imagine. Where is that?
Now, accreditation is yet to begin. And the result sheet is already filled up. Now, where do they get their results from? Even when those who are meant to vote, the electorate in question, are not even on the scene. But yet still, the result has been already filled. Now, manipulation now doesn't just commence from, false information from the result uploading, transmitting portal. It actually now has started even from the foundation itself. Now, why will an INEC, it's not the first time an INEC official will actually mar the operations of a particular unit or wherever. And it's sad enough, it's a copper who is actually serving the nation. Now, you've not just indicted yourself alone, you've indicted the NYSC core program. It's expected that you should do due diligence in serving the nation. And caught up in all this mess or quagmire now will begin to make people not just look down on INEC alone, but look down on the NYSC itself as an establishment. Now, going over to another video. Now, according to PDP gubernatorial candidate Dino Melaye, he says APC is compromising the elections in Ogori-Magongo local government area. I think we have a video to that effect, and let's hear what PDP gubernatorial candidate Dino Melaye has to say. INEC officials were also leaving that same polling unit going back to their offices as at 9:30 a.m. Can we have that video, please?
To show agents result sheets, and that result sheets have been written. There's a massive protest in all polling units in Ogori-Magongo local government of Kogi State right now. The result sheets have been, filled and tampered with already. And people are refusing to accredit, people are refusing to vote, and they are insisting that plain result sheets must be shown to agents in accordance to electoral law. If they refuse to show you result sheets in all polling units across the state, don't accredit, don't vote, protest and resist it. This is democracy. We must protect our votes. We must protect the process. We must make sure that all the regulations are being observed and respected. I call on all my agents all across the state that once plain result sheets are not shown to you before the commencement of accreditation, don't accredit, don't vote, resist it and protest, record it, video it, show the faces of these compromised INEC staff and security agents and post it on all platforms of social media. We shall overcome. This election is a must win for us. Thank you.
Now we could hear Dino Melaye, who is actually upholding the ethics of democracy. And one of the ethics of democracy is that an election which should be taking place should be free and fair. And as it is now, according to him, elections in Kogi State have been compromised. Now, who is actually compromising these elections? Some INEC officials are also involved. The security agencies are also involved. Now, party agents are also on ground to serve as, watchdogs to actually make sure that their interests, whether they belong to the APC, the PDP, or the Labour Party, or the Zenith Labour Party, depending on the political party on ground in question. Now, they are on ground to make sure that their interests are served or preserved concerning their own candidates. Now, it's the triple E candidates, the exposed, experienced, and educated candidates as we speak now. It's really, really upset concerning the Ogori Magongo mishaps, which should be normal anyway, because the polling units or local government areas you lose in elections have a way of even marring your chances of, preventing you from gaining that, crossing that finishing line in the political race. Now, these are questions we should be looking at. INEC on its own part, how well did they groom their officials who are actually involved in all these anomalies or discrepancies? That's another question. Oftentimes, it doesn't necessarily mean that the head is actually who is rotten. Sometimes, those beneath him are actually the ones who are actually rotten, foiling the efforts of even the head. And at the end of the day, it's the head who is going to take all the blame, which is quite sad. Now, it is expected that these people, these are officials of INEC, should actually come on board, and upon coming on board, should be actually put in check. I want to believe there are disciplinary measures for such a misconduct when they err in all these or get themselves involved in all forms or sorts of electoral malpractices. Now, INEC officials who have left the polling units now, as at when they are meant to even commence the elections now, becomes a problem. It therefore means that they are also part of the whole detail. Now, security officials now also have a role to play. Now, when they had to leave, why didn't they stop them? That's another question. Security officials are not just there to prevent hooligans or hoodlums from upturning the elections. They are also on ground to make sure that the electoral process runs or moves smoothly. Now, going over to the Kogi local council chairman, and also alongside with him, found with APC sponsored thugs, arrested with large sums of cash, ammunition, millions of naira for votes buying. Now, you are, can we have that, well, before we have that video up, we look at it that why are you actually so desperate that you should be found with ammunitions, cash in a particular area? It therefore means that you are not supporting the interest of what democracy should actually stand for. You are becoming unduly selfish, if I may put it that way. Please, let's have that video up. The APC sponsored thugs arrested with ammunition and large sums of the local government. Now, it's quite appalling. We could see quite a number of cartridges there, large sums of money, and the question arises from the lips of many. Why? We in our own part of the world should learn how to accept defeat. And, if at all, yes, you suspect that even before the race starts, you are going to lose, try and give it your best shot. And when you're giving it your best shot, behave like a proper sportsman who will shake the opponent when he or she loses. We could see this in a game of tennis. Let our politicians or legislators or even those involved in the whole process act in such manner. If we look over to going over to Imo State now is another kettle of fish. As we speak now, there are all sorts of uproar because we could hear gunshots in the Ikeduru local government area in Imo State, and we could see people are actually, or party agents are actually throwing shades at other party agents for vote buying. Now it seems vote buying now seems to be the trend now in these elections now, because you get to the polling unit and you're disbursing sums of cash to the electorate. Why? Because you need their votes. Now, when they've given you their votes, how adequately should you represent them? I was on social media, on Twitter to be specific, X, I mean, which is now X, yes. And 16,000 naira was given to some candidates. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. To part of some of the electorate, to make sure that they actually cast their votes in favor of their party. Now, why will you do all that? How much or how long will 16,000 naira last? I want to believe that 16,000 naira should last within 16 seconds. Of, if at all it should last 16 days, it should be lesser than that. Why? Because as we speak, prices of things are skyrocketing on a daily basis, or on a weekly basis, or on a monthly basis. Now, are you going to sell your rights out and receive a civic shame for the next 4 years? These are food for thoughts which we should wine and dine about in our brains. Now, the electorate, how exposed and how educated are they not to give in to such a gullible, yes, I'll call it gullible. The electorate happens to be so much gullible in some areas or some parts that they will be so swayed to give in to such a gifts. Now let's have that video up in Imo State, where gunshots at Amaimo Central School, Ikeduru local government area in Imo State. Now, as we will see in that video now, it's quite unclear who is exchanging gunfire. But I want to believe that the security agencies should be on top of the situation, which of course they should be. Now, how do these instruments of violence, the guns and name it, find their way into these polling units? We should also look at it that before individuals approach any polling unit, rather, security agencies should actually carry out thorough searching. There should be a stop and search whereby, in case, for instance, people walk in there with all sorts of instruments of violence, all these things can be curbed, because innocent citizens can actually lose their lives in those polling units. Historically speaking, it has happened before in the past. Now, for it still boils down to interest. Now, those gunshots have ordinarily, now as we speak now, disrupted elections in in the Ikeduru local government area of Imo State. Now, if at all elections are going to be there, it's going to be on a fear-based note, that if at all elections will hold or take place there. Now, Labour Party agents have also accused APC agents of vote buying in Imo State. Now, the APC, are they actually feeling threatened in Imo State? Because rumors or news making the rounds are that Hope Uzodinma has not actually done anything, to be specific, in the state. That all the projects which he actually has to execute are phantom projects which actually only exist in his head. Those are weighty accusations from the Labour Party, to be specific, because even the PDP doesn't really have so much accusations to point fingers at the Hope Uzodinma administration as we speak. Now, this particular Labour Party agent, who happens to be a female, she has accused the APC agents of vote buying. Now, I began by saying, now it appears now this vote buying seems to be a trend. Why? Because there's need to preserve their interests. Now, for how long will you choose to preserve selfish interests within 16 seconds, or for the next 4 years? That's the question. Please let's have that video up of the Labour Party agents accusing the APC agents of vote buying and hear what they have to say.
From Labour Party.
Yeah.
APC is bringing this place, so we took
Yeah, just
naira.
wait.
No, just say whatever I want to say.
The problem for this exit was the system. APC is bringing this place with 2,000 naira. They buy the vote. I give people that want to vote. They give the 2,000 naira to vote for them.
Why are they collected? So
Everything is the word with system. Everything is the word.
Can you just come again?
yeah, thank you.
Wait, sorry, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Stanley Kelechi, okay.
This isn't it what 16?
Is it what 16?
16. No, 16.
Yes, 15 and 16 are together, but this is 15. This is 16. Yeah.
All
Which
right.
party are you representing?
I'm representing ABC.
Okay, thank you.
So there is an allegation that there is serious vote by your party.
My brother, to the best of my knowledge, what I'm here to say is this: only body truth. If I have sinned, I will say it out because I am the type of person that never say anything that is not obtainable, something that is not that you can never come across a positivity about it. All right. So if at all there is anything like that, I have not seen. I went to the local government. From local government, I went to the rec center at a secretary in Obazubi. From that place down to this place. Since that time, you see the cubicles have been placed. The election has started. There is no problem. Even outside the policemen or military men here, you can see that nobody is having issues and each other. No vote buying. Everything is going according to our person. Vote me. Right? What I'm not saying. I'm not saying. Right? Vote me anywhere.
Are you impressed with the number of people coming out to vote?
Vividly. I am impressed.
Are they not going normal?
This are going on.
Turn up. This is not going to vote. It's going normal.
The truth of the matter is this: there is no how you can come here. There's no how you can come here without your people. Device everything on. BBC device everything on. Once you are with your vote.
Okay, that's from that video clip is from Imo State where they are trying to buy votes from the winning the hearts of the electorate at 2,000 naira. 2,000 naira. That's quite shocking. Now you choose to sell your rights for 2,000 naira. It's not the first time it's been happening. We've witnessed previous elections 4 or 8 years ago where the Indomie noodles or maybe household essential items were being used to win the hearts of the electorate, to buy them over into their camps. But now the question is, when they get in there, how well do they live up to their manifestos? That's another question. We heard the man there. Nobody likes to give evidence against himself, which is true, because it will be really, really indicting. But how true are these facts? At least there should be visual evidence with all these accusations. Now, in Imo State now, with the gunshots being fired, Imo State has been a state where there have been all sorts of forms of, chaos. Why? Because of, or should I say chaos? Definitely not. I mean violence. Why? Because of the whole perceived southeastern Biafran ideology. And of course, the sit-at-home protests, which is an extension of the whole Biafra escapade. The Hope Uzodinma administration has not actually lived up to expectation according to the indigenes or citizens of Imo State. Now, this is how well this is going to affect his election bid. Now, it's another question. We should still be expecting the results, counting, which I believe is going on because the elections had been concluded as at 3 p.m. Now, going over to Bayelsa, we could see the police firing tear gas at protesters who are demanding for the removal of the Bayelsa commissioner of police. Now, why would they want him out of the way? That's another question. It now boils down to the fact that suspicions might be there that the commissioner of police in Bayelsa might be aiding and abetting disruptive events in the elections. That's another question. Can we call up that video, please? The police are firing tear gas at protesters. So in Bayelsa, we could see people running. Why? Because tear gas had been fired at them at the polls. Now, why were these tear gas fired at them? It should be that they're actually protesting concerning a particular need in the election which was not met. Now, if this need is not met, should that be the option to disperse these protesters? That's another question. Definitely not. These are people whose lives you are meant to protect, but you are not actually living up to that expectation. Now, these major fights are between the major political parties I want to see with a battle for supremacy who actually has to win that seat. Now, Labour Party is an emerging war dog, let me put it that way, in the whole political race. Now, the women who are also actively involved in these elections, what might be their fate? I don't see them coming anytime close or near winning these elections. That's another question. Now, polling units also in Imo were likely of the opinion that they will hold or they will not hold. We anticipate waiting for the elections which are coming up, or the results which are coming up, rather. So, going over to news making the rounds concerning the elections, they say anxiety and tensions, of course, evidently from the videos which we have just seen, are actually, making the rounds concerning these elections. Now, let's follow up on the off-cycle updates concerning these elections also. We have news making the rounds claiming Dino Melaye is winning polling units in the gubernatorial elections. Now, even though he's winning the polls in these polling units, another question is those other polling units which are being disrupted. Why are they being disrupted? Why? Because for fear of he in totality winning these polling units. So it's a battle for interest or it's a do or die affair. Definitely not. It shouldn't be this do or die affair notion. Now, going over, Achonu, who is the Labour Party candidate, he has just casted his here. Okay, news making around claims that he had casted his votes and enjoins Imo citizens to take voting seriously. Of course, it should be a serious thing to cast your votes. Why? Because you need to adequately represent your candidate. And now your candidate, upon winning, eventually, should actually represent the interests of you when getting into office. Now, in opening that, let's go over to hear what Achonu has to say concerning casting his votes. Now, Senator, according to the Vanguard, Senator Arthur Achonu, the Labour Party candidate in the ongoing election in the company of his wife, has just casted his vote this morning in his hometown, Ibenkwo, Umunumo, Ihememba, local government area. Now, Achonu, who was very enthusiastic about the turnout of the electorate in his community, has assured people of his unflinching focus and readiness to take over leadership from Governor Uzodinma. Like I mentioned earlier on, people aren't quite comfortable with the Uzodinma administration. Now, it's in terms of not having paid salaries and, dilapidated structures and all sorts of clashes in different areas, or land grabbing also in different areas. Now, this will not support the second term bid, I suspect, of Hope Uzodinma. So it is we who will now keep our eyes shedding spotlight to see the situation on what these opposition parties who are coming on ground contesting to see what they have to offer. Now, although he didn't make an elaborate speech to the press, but was very optimistic in his victory at the end of the elections. Now, I think he's sounding optimistic, as we say here, that he's actually going to win the elections. Now, moving over to other news making the rounds. Now, Anyanwu differs over the gubernatorial elections amidst low voter turnout. Now, this voter turnout, there had been this sense of political apathy, whether to vote or not to vote. Now, it's a case of the number of the electorate who turn out will determine whether the voting exercise was really, really okay. Now, Governor Hope Uzodinma of the APC and PDP candidate, Senator Samuel Anyanwu, expressed diverse views and opinions on the conduct of the Saturday governorship elections in Imo State. Now, according to News Agency of Nigeria, they reported that both candidates spoke shortly after casting their votes at their various polling units on the midst of low voter turnout. Uzodinma, who voted at exactly 11:35 a.m. at polling units, 32, Kwenja, Umuma community. He said reports he received showed that the election was peaceful in most parts of the state. In my own view, my own opinion, I beg to differ because for gunshots to be fired in a particular place, I don't think the election was outrightly in totality peaceful, because we could see people taking over in some areas of the polling units. Now, going further, now INEC alleges sabotage in Kogi Guba polls. Now, INEC on its own part actually had really made some shocking waves in Kogi State, to be specific, because we could see the anomalies in the ranting from Dino Melaye, who is the PDP gubernatorial candidate for the PDP. Now, INEC has blamed some unseen forces for late arrival of officials and election materials in some polling units in today's election. Now, the state INEC voter education and publicity officer, Mr. Haliru Sule, he said this in an interview with the News Agency of Nigeria, who is actually monitoring the situation, getting our sources from. As an election umpire, INEC made adequate preparations for the off-cycle gubernatorial elections, yet we still experience some hitches here and there. Now, these are forces which are seen and unseen. Now, how could these forces have been checkmated if intelligence reports didn't get to them on time? Now, that's another question. Now, when these intelligence reports or intelligence gathering doesn't get to the appropriate quarters, it becomes a problem. And when there is delay, time is running. And when elections are not taking place in particular polling units, it either favors a particular party or does not favor this political party. That's another question. That is where all these grievances now starts. The violence now sets in. Now, going over to other news making the rounds, Bayelsa Guba commends election process despite delays. Now, these delays now seems to be another trend apart from the vote buying. And why these delays should actually be, I want to believe that INEC on its own part should have made sure that speedily they must have put all these things in check. Now, even though the elections have taken place despite the delays, I think the delay is some tactic to at least to foil the plans of any party who stands a chance to get the election to win that seat. Now, Chief Timothy Silva, who is actually the APC gubernatorial candidate in Bayelsa, has commended the general peaceful conduct of the ongoing elections within the state. Silva actually casted his own vote at exactly 1 p.m. in his own at Okpama Brass local government area. Now, he urged voters to remain peaceful and avoid any acts that will compromise the polls, which is what anyone should do. Compromising the polls will now mean another, cycle of a ton of events where they have to ignore the elections. I think we will go on a break now, and we'll see you shortly. I'm Odiawa AI, and this is Visual Media. We're monitoring in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo State. You're welcome back. Excuse me. You're welcome back to the show. We're monitoring the off-cycle elections in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa. And I'm Odiawa AI for Visual Media. It seems the heat now is on, particularly because counting of votes has actually commenced in different states. For instance, Bayelsa and also in Kogi. The sorting and accounting is ongoing. Let's go over to Bayelsa and see what they have to say concerning the elections, the sorting and the counting rather. Now, sorting and counting of votes have commenced in many polling units in Bayelsa after voting in the governorship elections, which actually ended at 2:30 p.m. Now, this is according to reports from the Vanguard. It also was ongoing at different areas, polling units and wards, and reports that the sorting of votes commenced at 3 o'clock as we speak in different wards actually. Now, with these recording of the results, which are currently ongoing, we hope that they will actually be properly uploaded so that they don't actually begin to doubt the credibility of INEC. That's another thing again. Now, going over to the counting of votes in Kogi gubernatorial elections, also from the Vanguard again. Now, counting of votes have also begun in most polling units in Lokoja at the end of the voting by accredited voters. Now, the story is also the same in different wards and polling units across the confluence states, Kogi state, I mean. Now, going further down now in the off-cycle updates, we have SDB candidates sure of victory in the Kogi polls. Definitely, every candidate has to be sure and that he or she is going to win the elections. Now, the SDP is another dominant party in Kogi State. We have also the PDP and the ruling APC, and we also have the Labour Party also. Each political party keeping them on their toes. Not that other political parties are not of importance. Of course, definitely they are. Now, Bayelsa Guba, APC has actually commended INEC. Now, APC, though not the ruling party, is actually comfortable with the operations of INEC as we speak. And this is a deviation from what actually used to be. Why? Because uh, elections before were perceived to favor the incumbent government. Now, coming over to Imo, now they can't stop my winning. This is according to Senator Anyanwu, who is actually the PDP candidate of the APC. Now, all these candidates are actually optimistic of the elections, which are just being concluded rather as at 3 o'clock, whereby counting now and sorting is actually going on. Now, Ozodima also has expressed satisfaction with the INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, and commends the turnout of the electorate, the voters. Now, the Labour Party candidate Chono and the wife also, definitely his better half should definitely escort him to the polling unit to actually exercise their franchise. Now, voter apathy, absence of electoral materials threaten Imo polls. Now, I want to believe that earlier on, these ones have been suspected. If you remember in the first phase of the show when I mentioned or talked about this. Why? Because of the insecurities which were on ground. Now, alleged ballot box snatchers gone down in Kogi State. Now, Kogi State actually has been the center of attraction in heated occurrences when it comes to these elections on this day, November 11. Now, Diri raises concerns over PDP members, agents barred from members. Why agents should be barred from these locales is another port of call. Now, let's go into what actually has actually been said by these individuals or candidates. Now, coming over, Governor Bello Odudu applaud INEC security personnel. Now, the security personnel, let's go over and open up that particular update on the off-cycle elections and hear what they have to say. Now, according to the Vanguard, Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State, who has actually commended INEC and security operatives for their conduct of the Saturday off-cycle elections in the state in election. he gave similar commendations, but the similar commendations were actually coming from Usman Ododo. Bello spoke after voting at his polling unit in Okene, where he noted a high level of preparedness by INEC. Now, a high level of preparedness, but in the video in which I watched earlier, you also saw there were some anomalies and discrepancies which ought to have been checkmated. Now, that's another question. Is he speaking on his own part or speaking for the people? That's another question. Now, he says he's optimistic that his candidate, Usman Ododo, will emerge victorious at the end of the exercise. Now, we still await those those election results subsequently. And we hope that, incidents won't follow after that, particularly tribunal incidents. Now, going back, let's see what the PDP candidate has to say concerning the off-cycle elections. Now, Senator Anyanwu is a PDP candidate, and we hope that he will emerge victorious also. That's another question. Now, the Imo State governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Samuel Anyanwu, on Saturday said nobody can stop him from winning the governorship elections. All these candidates seem to continually sound optimistic. He stated this while fielding questions shortly after he voted at his polling unit. Anyanwu's stand was that any issue of ballot snatching rather, or violence would not count based on INEC's instruction. He further mentioned that one Charles Amadi came to disturb. I do not care because they cannot stop my winning, and I am sure our agents have made a formal report about it. Now, we have miscreants coming to overturn the elections or showcase all sorts of ill vices just to make sure that they are actually achieving their selfish goals for their candidates. Now, INEC has alleged that elections have been sabotaged in Kogi polls. Now, amongst these three states now, Kogi State has, like I said earlier on, seems to be receiving most of the heat in this election. Okay, I think we've visited that. So let's move on to other news making the rounds. Bayelsa party agents, voters observe. Everyone appears to be commending the elections, but these other reports, which are, you know, disturbing, is another question. I want to believe that it's only in a few polling units. Now, some party agents in Bayelsa, voters and observers, have commended the peaceful voting process and seamless bimodal voter accreditation system, the BVAs, deployed on Saturday's elections in Bayelsa. Now, Bayelsa, which was suspected to have received or perceived to have had the most heat of the elections, actually appeared to be calm and serene. Now, they gave the commendation in separate interviews with the news agency of Nigeria in Yenagoa, which actually is the state's capital. Now, NA and News Agency of Nigeria reports that the respondents agreed that the election was largely smooth and peaceful across the Yenagoa local government area. Now, according to them, there has been no report of any incidents of malfunctioning of the BVAs. Now, the BVAs, if we will recall, uh, to it was going was also this accusation before the elections that they were actually being manipulated or doctored to favor the incumbent government, particularly in Kogi State. Now, going over further, Okoye, who is actually the presiding officer in a particular polling unit, said the voting process commenced some minutes after 9 a.m. to be exact. I think that's fair enough. Okoye added that the BVAs deployed to the polling units were working perfectly. Also, the party agents for the PDP, Joliman Etizeta, and that of the Africa Democratic Congress, the ADC, Clarence Kinika, described the election as peaceful. Now, this is the sportsmanship we need to talk about. Everyone now is actually commending the elections. There wasn't any form of a case of, say, it's a do or die affair thing. Now, let's go over to other news making the rounds. Of course, we're juggling between Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa. EFCC DSS officials stormed Dino Melaye's polling units. Now, why did they actually storm the polling unit in question? Let's find that out shortly. Now, officials of the Economic Financial Crimes Commission and the DSS, the Department of State Service, stormed the polling unit of Dino Melaye, the governorship candidate of the PDP in Kogi State, this Saturday. Now, Melaye is registered at Ilofon Quarters, Ayetoro 1, Ijumu local government area in Ayetoro, Bede, Kogi State. Now, the EFCC and the DSS, they are both security agencies now. EFCC addresses finances. Now, the question is, what is their business there? Okay, fine, maybe the vote buying aspect. That is where they come in for the money laundering. So they apprehend those people. Okay, now I get it. Now, moving over, we could see pictures of heavily armed DSS officials parading the polling unit of Dino Melaye, and suspected the intelligence report must have come in to state that there might be some kind of electoral mishap in those polling units. Now, the NDDC, the MD, in Bayelsa polls, now the NDDC MD describes the process as also peaceful. Now, let's hear what they have to say before we come back to chaos, which has erupted as INEC begins collation in Imo State, which is the latest updates concerning the off-cycle elections. The managing director of the Niger Delta Development Commission, the NDDC, Chief Samuel Agboku, has described the electoral process in Bayelsa State governorship elections as peaceful. Now, everyone has termed the election peaceful. Now, I hope this peace will also continue after the elections results have been announced. Now, Agboku, who cast his votes, of course, in his ward in Bayelsa State, said in spite of the initial glitches, now, these glitches must have been the late arrival or later commencement of the elections, which, of course, must have been a few minutes from the part of INEC. Now, it was able to put their machines in. INEC was able to put their machines in order and commended the commission for a job well done. Therefore, means that whatever gadgets that may be must have been properly put to use, and the officials of the INEC had actually behaved in a proper manner, not like the previous video we saw where we met an INEC official in Kogi State, to be specific, doctoring the elections before accreditation will commence. Now, according to him, the Renew Hope agenda of Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration will touch the people of the Niger Delta. Now, that's what the NDDC has to say concerning the election. Of course, is a doubt. We should know that the essence why the NDDC should commence is because the Bayelsa is a South-South region. I'm Adiawa AI for Visual Media, and we've been taking time to take a quick glance for over an hour on the happenings on the off-cycle elections in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa. You will do well to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Visual Media, and follow us across various social media platforms. And also, download the app, Visual Media, on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Thanks for watching.